For many supporters of Bernie Sanders, they might not yet have been exposed to an issue that he holds that they disagree with. He seems to, for most progressives, check mark all the boxes that we care about in terms of foreign policy and support for different disadvantaged groups and the economy, certainly, healthcare, all of these things. Now, that isn't to say that there aren't any issues that you might dislike, and from Hillary Clinton's point of view, it would be a great idea to publicize some of those. So she sent out one of her surrogates, Dan Malloy, governor of Connecticut, to attack Bernie Sanders on his policies having to do with guns, saying that on that particular issue, he is quite weak in comparison to Hillary Clinton. Here is Bernie Sanders attempting to defend his record when it comes to guns.
On the issue of gun control, a surrogate for Hillary Clinton, Connecticut Governor Dan Malloy, he went to New Hampshire and said that your gun votes have been driven by, quote, political expediency, and that this is a dividing line between you and Hillary Clinton. Your response?
Well, let me tell you, I have, as I understand it, a lifetime voting record from the NRA of D-. I voted very strongly for instant background checks. I want to see them made stronger. Probably the most important thing that we can do. Number two, I voted in a state, by the way, Jake, which has almost no gun control, not an easy vote. I voted against the NRA, and I voted to ban certain types of semi-automatic weapons. I voted to eliminate this gun show loophole, which allows people to purchase guns without a background check.
That, I think, was a pretty good defense. Now, we have done our own research because this is not an issue that we hear him talk too much about, and I wanted to be sure. And look, he got a D-, which is not an F, and it's not a C or B. I mean, it's somewhat middling. Obviously, the NRA not big fans of him. And generally, his votes in the past have been in favor of more gun control in terms of high-capacity magazines and things like that. But there are a couple of votes that I found a little bit questionable.
Yep.
For instance, voted yes on prohibiting foreign and UN aid that restricts U.S. gun ownership. The problem, of course, with that sort of thing is, who knows if that was added as a poison pill at the last minute and they had to vote on it because it's a 500-page bill that includes necessary funds for 1 million different projects. That's the sort of fucked up business that goes on in the Senate and the Congress that makes it hard to know. I mean, was the bill just a line that says prohibit funds? If he voted in favor of that, then that's a bad thing. If it was part of a much larger bill, perhaps not.
Yeah, I hate it when they tack on certain legislation to a larger bill, and then politicians are kind of forced to vote against something or in favor of something that they don't necessarily like. But at the same time, look, full disclosure, I love Bernie Sanders. If Bernie Sanders gets the ticket, the Democratic ticket, I'm voting for him. I would much rather have him than Hillary. However, it's important to be honest with you guys and tell you the truth about what's going on. You look at Bernie's history, and he has been a little laxed on gun control policy. So I'll give you some more examples. I'm sure you have some more, but I want to give you more. So he voted against the Brady handgun bill, which imposed a 5-day waiting period. So officials could do a comprehensive background check before giving someone a gun, right? Now, he said that he's in favor of waiting periods, but then he voted against the Brady bill. So I think that's an issue right
He
there.
also voted against decreasing the waiting period for background checks from 3 days to 1 day. So maybe he's right there in the middle.
So it's a mixed bag.
Exactly. And again, these are both bills that probably had a number of other stipulations attached to them.
There's more. Voted yes on a bill that would bar victims of gun violence from suing firearms manufacturers.
Yeah.
Now, look, in terms of his NRA grade, getting a D- from the NRA isn't difficult, right? Like, all you have to do is say, I don't want to give people on the terrorist watch list guns. And the NRA will be like, fail! Get out of here, right? Yeah. So I don't give a shit what the NRA grade is. If you say anything, if you utter the words gun control in any way, shape, or form, they're going to give you a lower grade. But you look at his voting history, and it doesn't look good on gun control. He's not a strong advocate of gun control, and it could be because he's representing constituents in a state where people love their guns. And if he's going to represent them and he wants to get reelected over and over again, he's going to have to represent the people. It sucks, but it's the reality.
Yeah. The problem with him being a senator from Vermont is that it's very rural, right? The problems with guns aren't on farms.
Right.
Right? The problems with guns are in cities. And that's why you see mayors of all stripes want to get rid of guns in their cities. Because when you have unemployment and then you put lots of guns on top of that, and that's going to be...
Sounds like a bad recipe.
Guns,
yeah, which is what they did in Chicago, right? They stripped it all of all its manufacturing base, everything left, and they dumped it. But then the mayor tried to get rid of the guns. The NRA wins the lawsuit. Yeah. No, you got to have as many guns And so that's what you get. And then they say, oh, look, it's Chicago. Well, it's an economic problem anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't understand how Bernie Sanders, again, can have such a blind spot on this, though. You're right about this, Anna. Those are bad votes of his. So why doesn't he come out with, like he did with Black Lives Matter? Now he has a proposal already. He should have his proposal for gun legislation already.
Maybe here's now what I'm being attacked, maybe he will now.
Yeah, it's like, well, duh, you're waiting this long?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, look, I think
you're running for president.
Yes, that's certainly true. And look, it seems, especially considering the past few years, it seems like a relevant issue that you should have a comprehensive platform on. I totally agree with that. But at some point, every politician, even one who seems as genuinely passionate and ideologically driven as Bernie Sanders, is going to have certain policies that you feel more strongly about and you push more. I mean, we were sort of disappointed, I think it was early this year, to find out when he was asked about if he became president, would he push for marijuana legalization? He was like, well, I'd look into it at that point. Like, no, dude, you're so progressive. What the hell? How are you lagging behind on that issue? But it's just not something that he had really thought about, apparently. And I'm hoping that since he seems like a genuine person, an honest, actual politician, that if he gets into the position and he has time to think about it, he'll put the right people in charge. That's my hope, at least.
Right. I like that people are holding him accountable for his past votes and what his ideas are, because I don't want to fall into the same trap that I fell into in 2008 when I voted for Obama. You see a lot of similarities between Bernie Sanders and Obama when he was campaigning for the primaries, right? Obama garnered a lot of support among young first-time voters. The same thing is happening with Bernie Sanders because they both said very similar things. Obama did not keep many of his promises, and I really want to make sure that if Bernie Sanders is campaigning in one way, that he's actually going to carry out the policies that he says he's going to carry out should he get elected.
Yeah.
Now, I know that it's already an uphill battle to get him, in the Democratic ticket, but I have faith in him, and I think that there's a huge possibility that he could get there. I just want to make sure that we do our job regardless of how much we support him and make sure that we hold him accountable for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny is people, when they say, oh, Bernie Sanders, hard time getting elected, they never say because of this policy.
Yeah.
They just say, he doesn't own a comb. You know what I mean? It's like, is that really it? We just need a guy comb his hair and he'll be okay? I mean, unbelievable. His policies are very...
he doesn't have as much money as Hillary.
Yeah, he doesn't have as much money as Hillary. His policies, everyone loved them. If you're a Democrat, you'll love his policies. That's what you've been waiting for since Bill Clinton. You've been waiting for this. We thought Barack Obama was going to bring us this. He didn't bring us this. So that's so funny to hear, oh, he's not electable. Which policy isn't? His policies, very, very, very popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
Free college for everybody, free health care for everybody, two things that we can afford in the richest country the world has ever seen.
Yeah. The last point I want to make on this is so you talked about one of the votes that he voted against requiring the gun manufacturers to, he voted to basically protect them from lawsuits from those who suffered gun violence. I honestly don't know how I feel about that.
Right.
Just because if you think about other products, like if you get hit by a car, you don't sue Toyota. Like,
No, I totally
you can sue people for if there's a malfunction, and I understand the point of the policy is to crush the gun manufacturers. I totally get that. I've been reading recently, though, there's this sort of beginning of a push for required insurance for your guns, which certainly makes a lot of sense considering the sorts of things you need to insure in this country, that you don't have to insure your guns, which would get to the same thing. If somebody's a victim of random gun violence or if somebody accidentally shoots their kid or something, that's where the money will come from then.
Great
which
idea.
Seems to make a lot of, it's not my idea, but thank you. But yeah, and then it also has the side benefit of pitting gun manufacturers against insurance companies.
Which is also great.
Fuck them both, so.
Yes, this is a great idea.
Yeah, I'm going to read more about it.
This is what Bernie Sanders should put forth.
Yeah, Bernie, do that.